India, which remains a victim of cross-border terrorism, has time and again raised its concern on the international platforms. New Delhi reiterates its concern on countering terrorism on a global level. Recently, while exposing Pakistan's propaganda at the UNSC debate, India expressed its concern over the lack of unanimity among the member nations. A report. There have been a number of terror attacks in India, from the 2008 Mumbai terror attack to Uri and Pulwama attacks of 2016 and 2019, where the links with the Pakistan-based terror groups like the Lashkar-e-Taiba or Jaish-e-Mohammed have been established. Other than India, there have been international terror attacks, including the recent Texas attack that has had links with the notorious South Asian country. While Pakistani diplomats say that the country is taking stern action against UN-designated terrorists, Islamabad continues to remain deeply invested in aiding terror. A country that considers Osama bin Laden a martyr always makes desperate attempts to divert attention from criticism of its policies. Propagating false and malicious propaganda against New Delhi has become an inseparable political tool for Pakistan. However, India knows well how to counter its policy, and New Delhi has been categorically exposing Pakistan's propaganda on global platforms for several years. Recently, in a strong response to Islamabad raking up the issue of Jammu and Kashmir in the United Nations, India exposed Pakistan's lies and highlighted how terrorists enjoy free pass in the country.
This is not the first time the representative of Pakistan has misused platforms provided by the UN to propagate false and malicious propaganda against my country, and seeking in vain to divert the world's attention from the sad state of his country, where terrorists enjoy free pass while the lives of ordinary people, especially those belonging to the minorities, are turned upside down. Madam President, member states are well aware that Pakistan has an established history of harboring, aiding, and actively supporting terrorists. This is a country that has been globally recognized as a sponsor of terrorism and holds the ignoble record of hosting the largest number of terrorists proscribed by the Security Council. So much so that most of the terrorist attacks around the world today have their origin in some form or the other in Pakistan.
Time and again, Pakistan misuses the platform of the UN because it is very much aware of the limitations of the global organization. Unfortunately, efforts to adopt an all-encompassing, comprehensive counter-terrorism convention have eluded the UN. This is because member states have been unable to agree on a definition of terrorism. In particular, the question of whether the definition should include so-called state terrorism. It does undermine the organization's moral authority by inhibiting it from sending an unequivocal message that terrorism is never an acceptable tactic. Recently, in the UNGA meeting to consider the report of Secretary General on the work of the organization, India raised its concern over the issue. Indian diplomats said that terrorism casts doubt on the organization's relevance for people, whom the Charter of UN obliges to protect.
Our inability to seriously address terrorism, the most dangerous of scourges faced by states and societies since the Second World War, casts doubt on the relevance of the organization for the very people whom the Charter of the United Nations obliges us to protect. The United Nations has yet to agree on a common definition, let alone craft a coherent, well-coordinated policy to tackle terrorism and dismantle its enabling networks. We have failed ourselves by continuing to procrastinate on concluding a comprehensive convention against international terrorism.
The United Nations stands at a crossroads. It has recorded many successes, however, it is bedeviled by a litany of challenges. These challenges weaken its effectiveness. The organization needs to improve its efforts to respond effectively, especially when the world is affected with an evil of terrorism.